Delta presentation.
Our topic is digital diplomacy, a concentration in big atoms. Our mission statement: we are dedicated to monitoring healthy integration of digital diplomacy in social and political landscape. Meet the team. Who are we? W.G. Clements.
I'm Z. I'm Amanda. I know we don't. What is digital diplomacy? This is a quote that we pulled off of one of our articles that we posted. And basically what they're saying is that digital diplomacy is when countries use information and communication technologies as well as social media platforms to communicate their goals with their audiences in their own country as well as across the world. Countries and governments can use these platforms to immediately communicate what they're trying to communicate with people across the world. It's quick, it's effective. And many of our political officials that you've seen on Twitter, on other social media pages, post any of their opinions, plans for the upcoming year. This is just a way for countries to really communicate with the public directly.
Parties have used or are using now to either promote positive information or just disinformation, right? And that's also from social media, or not social, news platforms, Fox, CNN, and then there's also the president and then his party, his cabinet as well. Just spreading different information, and then we can also talk about the blah, blah, blah. What is it? It's supposed to be impeachment, right? So his cabinet not even choosing to provide any information, right? Using social media to skew the negative or skew the
narrative.
The narrative. There you go.
And so using social media for like political means has really revolutionized the entire industry and how politicians get their point across and what parts of politicians that we see, like we don't know, they're able to share their opinions on whatever it is, on whatever social media base, and there's not really restrictions on it. So that kind of comes to an ethics question where should they be restricted on what they post? Like their opinions are going to affect a wide array of audiences across the entire world and affect views on the countries and what other people think of us.
Thoughts on okay, so the positives. There are many positives of digital diplomacy. One of the first one is it's a faster two-way communication between citizens and government. So pretty much you can just go ahead and tweet out or Facebook or Instagram your government officials, and then they'll be able to get in contact with you sometimes. So the development of social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat have created an open conversation space where government officials can directly communicate with their citizens and their audience. And vice versa, you can go ahead and communicate with your government officials easily just by tweeting them. You can also influence public policy by sharing your concerns, by tweeting, Instagramming, contacting your government officials, your politicians via social media. And they typically do directly interact with the people as well. Diplomats and world leaders can easily extend their networks and their relationships. So for example, this weekend I was on Twitter and I saw that former President Barack Obama was endorsing Justin Trudeau for the Canadian elections, which I thought was awesome, which allows you to see relationships that other politicians across the world have with each other. The other thing I noticed is ever since President Obama was running for office, young people are engaged in politics now through social media. He definitely was able to use social media as a platform to spread his messages and get people to engage and go out and vote.
Two major negative outcomes of digital diplomacy would include hacking and disinformation. So an example of this hacking would be 2016 United States election and then the Russian interference. Russia used social media platforms of United States citizens to push information and propaganda from the Russian stance, or just completely outright lie to citizens on social media. Another example would this be disinformation. But what is disinformation? This information would be misleading others with the intent of spreading false information by a government to rivals, media sources, or political parties. An example of this would be the 2016 Star Wars Last Jedi review. So essentially, Star Wars Last Jedi had such a negative score on Rotten Tomatoes, people started doing in-depth research on why this was the case. It found that there was over 200 negative tweets about the movie. Out of this, 244 of these were bot accounts, spam accounts that were just pushing information or disinformation about the movie and just lying to people. And then out of these 200 accounts, 16 of those were Russian troll accounts that were just completely lying to people about the movie and just trying to bring down the negatives, bring down the movie score and interfere in United States politics.
So these are our discussion questions, which hopefully you'll see in our discussion post. The 3 questions that we have are, number 1, what are your thoughts on digital diplomacy? Have you seen any recent cases of digital diplomacy impacting public affairs? So this could be anywhere on the internet, a blog, a social media post, anything that you might see. We just want to hear what you've seen and what your thoughts are on the topic. Question 2, disinformation is a negative consequence of digital diplomacy. What are some measures to counter this? Now, we did have one of our articles was about disinformation, about the dark side of digital diplomacy, so we want to hear your thoughts on this as well. Question 3, what points are required to be implemented for effective and successful digital diplomacy, and what are the main benefits and risks of digital diplomacy? So we want to hear your overall opinions on what you think we have to implement in order to make this an effective means of communication and political gain. Oh, also we have a personality quiz, so we made a BuzzFeed quiz for you. It's just going to give you a percentage on how much of a digital diplomat you are, how much you believe we should integrate this piece of technology into our political agenda. So we want you to take the quiz and we want you to add on to your discussion post or make a new reply under our discussion post as to what you got. And then we want you to answer one question, a short one, which says, what one real world problem do you think can be resolved with digital diplomacy and how? So thanks for our presentation and we hope that you have a great discussion and a great e-class.
Again, we're Big Data Hunters.